1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 4, divergent thinking. How can you get 4? Sir, 2 into 2 is 4, 2 plus 2 is also 4, divergent thinking. See, in that way, 1953 onward, the whole world is talking about the creativity, then the divergent thinking. Because of that, we will see so many changes. All of our societal problems are solved mainly because of our creative approach, creative thinking. Without creativity, no variety. Earlier, people did not know who is calling. Now in the mobile, you can find out who is calling. If possible, you can find out who is there on the other side. Then only one camera we had. Now how many cameras are there? Front camera, back cameras, 2 cameras, 3 cameras, 4 cameras. All these things are because of innovation. Therefore, we should take interest to see that research. Every teacher is also a researcher. Every teacher is also a good innovator. And at the same time, extension is equally important, because whatever we teach inside the class, that is not enough. You have to transfer this knowledge outside the classroom. In World Education Summit that was happened in February, I participated there. Then I presented a paper on developing a research culture. I presented a paper. At that time in China, that virus, just then it started. I was asking them, a good researcher is one who should be very sensitive to what are the things which are happening around. One should be very sensitive. Then how many of you have taken interest to find out more about the virus? I think nobody raised a hand. Even professor from Indian of Science. Afterwards, I came to know that immediately they started. Now so many experiments are going on. Hyderabad became so popular. Vaccination, all these things happened after 2016. I'll give one simple example. Now friends, I can speak quite a lot, but I want to just say this particular point is in extension means you have to reach out. That's why community participation. You have to share your knowledge to the community for the benefit of the community. In the NAP, we are asking you, do you have any kind of awards have you received because of your participation in the community, we ask you. That means whatever the new knowledge you have derived, whatever the knowledge that you are sharing here and there, are you sharing this for the benefit of the society, for the benefit of a common man? Earlier, people never dreamt of expecting a common man to use a mobile 20-25 years back, sir. Shampoo was only for the rich class people. Shampoo means only rich. But now everybody pay 1 rupee and get the shampoo and have the benefits. See how that's why I always used to say the modern approach is earlier bringing outside information to the laboratory and conducting research. Now the present emphasis is whatever you are conducting in the name of research in the laboratory, you have to take it out to the society. Therefore, lab to society is the concept. Friends, you are all here?
Yes.
I doubt. Are you here?
Yes.
Now I think I am getting little confidence that you are good. But don't worry, same thing will happen even in your classroom. Please understand, same situation will be there in your classroom. If there are 100 students, 60 or 70 only will be following you. Because one day one teacher told, you fellows, you are not following, that's the reason you are not answering. From now onwards, you must follow. After that class, everybody start following the teacher. Teacher looked back and I said, you dirty fellows, why are you following me? Yes, you asked us to follow you, therefore we are following you. Therefore she said, no, I didn't mean in that way. Many times we say, I mean, ultimately we do not know what we mean. Some of you, when teaching, will say, no, I mean. Ultimately we say, we do not know what you mean. Okay, friends. I think I mentioned this particular point, that the extension is equally important. I think Mahananda Madam is there, you request her. She will explain what NAC is expecting from you in the name of extension. Whatever certificates we are going to approve. We have got a DV which says this certificate we are not going to approve, this one we are going to approve. There are many people, always they take every point here. If you want to get A++ grade, every minute aspect you have to take care. Document the whole thing, produce the documents, then chances for getting A++ will be more. Sometimes we don't read in between the lines, simply we skip and we go. The extension is equally important, as I give 1 or 2 examples. Because what you take, every man, how many people are having 2-wheelers nowadays? How many people are having 4-wheelers? 30 years back, do you think that we have dreamt of purchasing a car? Now friends, you have to respond, because always a good teacher is one who always responds to the situation, responds to the environment, responds to the changes in the environment. In the process of responding changes to the environment, you are trying to grow on your own. I think extension has got so much. And it can also be a two-way process wherein you can go, you share, and you can bring that people from the society to here. Supposing you go to a tribal area where you are sharing your knowledge, hygienic aspects, etc. In turn, you can bring their skill to your own college. Entrepreneurship, how to make baskets, the tribal people will tell you. In that way, it can be a two-way process that can bring it. Then the infrastructure, I think infrastructure and the other one I mentioned here, equally important. I think we discussed, Arun Kumar also told that infrastructure is equally important. Sir, no, we'll take our students, we make them to sit under a banyan tree, we are going to teach. Those days have gone. Those days have gone.
Yes.
Am I right? Now facilities are there. Even mobile teaching in Dubai and also in Sri Lanka and Singapore, they say students are permitted to use in 1 or 2 classes. We force them to use the mobile. We ask them to bring the mobile. We request them to open the mobile. Make them to search certain things, write down certain things. Then we ask them to speak what is that you are recording in the mobile. I think in that way mobile teaching is common, people are encouraging. So you have to just see that infrastructure is equally important. Then learning resources are equally important. Library is a resource, laboratory is a resource, field experience is a resource, field visit is a resource, club activities can be a resource. Therefore there are different ways by means of which you can do it. And then the student support and progression. I think I will not go very much in detail. NAC is insisting what is that you are doing for the student progression. Then dropout rate if you are attending to that. And then are you preparing them for the different type of competitive examinations. I think apart from teaching, we have got other responsibilities. That's why 1986 policy says every teacher is a compendium, it should be a compendium of many virtues. Every teacher. No sir, I am a physics teacher, I teach physics and come back. I teach semiconductor, come back, superconductor. No, they say all right. Apart from that, you are the custodian of values. Apart from that, you are a counselor. You should counsel your students. You should interact with them, understand the problem, multiple rules that they are talking about it. Then next one is governance, leadership and management. I think a lot of books are available on governance. Lot of books are available on leadership quality. Earlier we were all looking for a leader to emerge. Emerging leader. Now they say no. A transformational leader can come. And on the spot, among yourselves, so many leaders are there. We are not able to identify you, that's all. Definitely, among yourselves, every one of you have got the leadership quality. But depending upon the chance, depending upon the opportunity, it is possible for you to exhibit. And that's why, in the name of governance, in the name of leadership, and in the name of proper management. Now, management courses, 1973, nobody knew. Only commerce course was there. The students from business background, they were all going to commerce course. That was the situation in 1973. Now, management course has so much structure. They are doing so well, applying the principle of management, strategic management that they are using, total quality management concept that they are using, and thereby they are addressing the quality to a greater extent. ಬಹಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ. ಟೋಟಲ್ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗೆ ನೀವು ಎಂಟ್ರ್ ಆದರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟಿಯಿಂದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಹೌ ಯು ಓಪನ್ಸ್ ದ ಗೇಟ್, ಹೌ ಯು ಸಲ್ಯೂಟ್ಸ್ ಯು, ಹೌ ಈಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ವೆನ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ವೆಲ್ಕಮಿಂಗ್. ದ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ದೇರ್. ಈವೆಂಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಅವರು ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಬೇಕಾದಷ್ಟು ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ಇದೆ. This is also very interesting. That's why in the NAC we are asking, what about your management principles, commitment to the management principles? Do you have the total quality management practices? All these things we ask. I think the last one is equally important about institutional values and best practices. Therefore, what are your best practices? What are your institutional values? I think these two are very, very important. In the newspaper, if you see, you will understand to what level at home we are teaching the values and at what level we are teaching the values in the college. Right? In the TV news, if you observe, simple, small things, so many people are losing their life like anything, small things. A fellow goes, call his brother-in-law, want to stay with you. He assured and trusted him, and next day a fellow kills this man and he runs away. So many small things, therefore, where we have erred. With all our education level, we were not able to prevent the Ukraine and Russia war. What happened to education then? We speak about peace, we speak about global peace, we speak about international peace, all these things, what is happening? Therefore, I think this is an important point that we have to consider here, that apart from making students to get 80% marks, 90% marks, we must make them to understand the meaning of life. We must make them to understand how he has to lead the life. We must make him to understand how he should allow other people also to lead the life. We must make him to understand how he has to lead the life. We also must make him to understand his responsibility in making other people also to lead a good life. I think there are very important points. I can speak hours together about that, but my concern is not that. But you asked me about these aspects. Now straight away I go to this topic now, then I corrected myself. Dear friends, are you comfortable? Yes. Any deviation from my side? No. Thank you. Now earlier, what is teaching? Because people used to say art of assisting another to learn is teaching. That means I know something, other fellow is not knowing. For a person who knows, he will interact with the other person, make him to understand. In a face-to-face situation is what we mean by learning. It includes providing of information and appropriate situations, conditions or activities designed to facilitate learning. Now the concept of teaching is also slowly changing. Earlier, teacher was very dominant in the class. Even now we say lower level teacher should be very dominant because students are quitting, they may not be knowing. But as and when they come to higher level, you must treat your students like a friend, a philosopher and great concept. You must treat them like friends. We ask them, master degree students, dear friends, how are you? Use the word friends. We don't call them as students because their maturity level is quite high. They are adults and above adults. Therefore, the concept of teaching is not merely information sharing, but we are making one more step ahead, wherein teaching is an information processing technique, and I am correcting it here. So what is teaching? Somebody asked. Teaching is an information processing technique. Processing means what? We have got input, we process it, we get a different type of output. Wherever output is different from that of the input, that means processing is there. This is what people from systems approach, they speak, connecting input, process and output is systems approach. We are taking the students, that is the input. Processing means you are all teaching different types of subjects. And the outcome is actually, they get their degree, they go with lot of knowledge, lot of skills, lot of competencies, that is the output. And therefore, now we say what is teaching means the latest one. Teaching is an information processing technique. And teacher is expected to be a facilitator. Therefore, I think that point I am just highlighting, you can remember that. Therefore, all of us, we are supposed to be facilitators. We have to provide the facilities. We should not indoctrinate and pour and push all our ideas and thoughts to the students. Those days have gone. Therefore, the moment I think here, I have done my PhD in thinking skills, critical thinking skills. Therefore, I believe even in the best schools, people have tested that the opportunity for developing the thinking is not more than 40%. How do you make them to think? Asking questions like why? Look here, thermometer, they use only mercury. Any possibility that any other liquid can be used? If you ask one simple question, that itself is a starting point to make people to think in a different direction. Friends, you are all here? Yes. Physically or mentally? Yes. Both means I think I am also here. Correct now? Therefore, we have to ask that question, why it is so? Why only that mercury in the thermometer? Why not the other liquids? That is research. That's why somebody asked now, now in our new education policy says research should be integrated at the degree level. They say introduce 4 years degree, 4 years honors degree and 4 years research based degree. And those students who are coming with the research based with the 4th year, they can directly be admitted to the PhD program. That's what UGC 2022 rule says. That's what NAP is also insisting upon, the 4 years degree. I can speak on NAP, but I'll take only minimum whatever that I want to cover for this purpose and I proceed. Now friends, I think you are getting this particular point that we should be a facilitator, I said. Then our new education policy also says your purpose of teaching any subject ultimately is to develop the human development is your concern. Developing the human capacity is your concern. I was talking about the thinking now. That's why we have to make our students also to think. It does not matter if they do not have any answer. My idea of asking question is not to make the student to give me the correct criterion expected answer, but my idea is to stimulate his mind, stimulate the young mind. If you stimulate the young mind, it is possible that today he may give you a wrong answer, tomorrow he may give you the right answer. Therefore, it is always better to stimulate. That's why, if you are a facilitator, you have to keep that point also in mind. Then teaching is an interactive process, we are saying. One more step, we are saying it is not a one-way process, it should be a two-way process. That's why we use the word interactive process, primarily involving classroom talk. Nowadays we have got virtual classrooms also, therefore that definition may not be applicable to you. Then which takes place between a teacher and pupils, and so then secures during certain definable activities. The teaching activities recognized here are motivating, planning, informing, leading discussions, disciplining. I think so many aspects they have given. That's why I said teachers should have multiple roles. Teachers should motivate, teachers should plan very well, teachers should be informing them well in advance what they have to do, how they have to prepare. And apart from that, we want the teacher to lead the discussions in the classroom and then make them to be very disciplined in the process of learning. And counseling is also part of your activity, and also evaluation, we say. I think we can just see a paradigm shift now. Now I think there are universities where they say, we don't teach, we test. We don't teach, we test. Then I ask them, how do you are saying you don't teach, but you are testing? No sir, we will tell them everything online now. Therefore we give them the details regarding what they have to refer on online, different websites and other things. They learn and come, we simply give a question paper. Then I said, no, if that is the case, you can call your center or your university or college as ODL, Open and Distance Learning Center. If it is Open and Distance Learning Center, that is fine. If it is not Open and Distance Center of Learning, then we have to participate in teaching. But what should be the percentage between your teaching, online teaching and your physical teaching, that you can decide. That you have got freedom, that you can decide, but it must be there. Now the next one, teaching aims at what usually? This is very, very important. Teaching aims at developing the cognitive development is your focus. Whatever you teach, physics, chemistry, mathematics, or microbiology, or biotechnology, whatever may be the subject you are going to teach, in the process of teaching the subject, you have to develop the cognitive abilities, very, very important. Under the cognitive abilities, we focus mainly on these two aspects. Number one, we call it as the thinking process. You have to develop the thinking process, because in the case of growing children, thinking can be enhanced. Even among the adults, to some extent, thinking can also be enhanced. Therefore, your new education policy also says develop the cognitive abilities like critical thinking. They are saying, am I right?
Yes.
Friends, is it true? Have you heard of the word critical thinking?
Yes.
No. Yes or no?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Therefore, they are saying you have to develop critical thinking. You have to develop problem-solving abilities among the students. Then you have to make the students to act like discoverers. Discoverers, very, very important point I am stressing here. Whatever may be the level, UG level, PG level, But maybe in UG more emphasis can be given. PG is slightly we can reduce it. But however, in whatever way the level of teaching, you have to see that cognitive development is very, very, very important. What is thinking, somebody asks. Do you know what is thinking? If somebody, anyone of you can answer what is thinking, if somebody asks you what is thinking.
Thinking may be imagining.
Thinking may be imagining.
Maybe planning.
Maybe planning. Fine. Anyhow, you will be having answer. I want you to keep on thinking so that you will get some idea about thinking, and you can ask me to think about your thinking so that you can tell me at the end whether your thinking is right or not. But anyway, I can say this much. Thinking, very simple statement. Thinking is a manipulation of our sensory inputs. Beautiful. Thinking is the manipulation of our sensory inputs. We have got 5 sensory inputs. We see and learn, we hear and learn, we smell and learn. We have got sensory organs. Thinking means manipulation of sensory organs. If I am seeing a tree, if there are 2 trees outside, one tree is full of flowers, other tree has got only a bare tree, or a tree where no flowers are there. I am seeing 2 trees. My sensory organ eyes takes the sense of these 2 and then records here. When it records, there is no thinking. After recording, if I ask one question, why the other tree is full of flowers, whereas the other one is not having any kind of flowers, means I am stimulating my sensory organ and thereby my thinking starts. If I am hearing a fan sound, if it is normal, I don't say anything. If I come across a different type of sound, I ask the question, why this fan is producing this kind of sound? Why? Any problem with the regulator? Any problem with the part of the fan? In that way, thinking always starts when you start stimulating your sensory organs inputs. Very interesting. Did you like this point or not?
Yes.
Correct. No, it's very simple. Like I touch this object in thinking that it is cold, but it is very hot, I take it back. Then I ask the question, why it is hot? Thinking starts. You put on the switch of a geyser. After 20 30 minutes, you go there, open the tap, cold water, still it is coming. Therefore, you will say, why cold water is coming? However, though I put on the switch, thinking starts. Now, friends, though the thinking is always influenced by problems, all our problems in a way makes us to think. Therefore, it is better to have some problems every day, either in the house or maybe in the college. Because of these problems, we can be more energetic and we can start thinking and we can do it. Now, friends, anyhow, I can speak hours together, but only one clue I just give you. I can speak about inductive thinking, deductive thinking, vertical thinking, straight thinking, clear thinking, then destructive thinking, negative thinking, positive thinking, so many types are there. But only creative thinking and critical thinking, one small difference I want to tell you. Creativity makes you to come out with as many solutions as possible. But it is your critical thinking that will tell you which one works, which one is not going to work. Which one should be selected, which one should not be selected, that can be decided by your critical thinking. Most of the judges are supposed to have the critical thinking. They hear both the sides. After hearing from both the sides, he wants to make his judgment. In order to make a judgment, what type of thinking he requires is nothing but critical thinking. Then he may ask me, sir, what are the attributes of critical thinking? I can give you 3 or 4 very quickly. Number 1, if somebody can differentiate between relevant things and irrelevant things, to that extent we say that he has got critical thinking. Hope you have got it?
Sir, one should have critical thinking in addition to creative thinking?
All these types of thinking, every one of us we have got. I am having critical thinking, I am having creative thinking, I am having inductive thinking, deductive everything. Depending upon my exposure, that particular type of thinking will be stimulated and it comes to the surface level. Every one of us we have got. If I put into a situation where lot of queries related to critical thinking will be there, then my component of critical thinking will be slightly higher when compared to creative thinking. Similarly, if I put into a creative thinking situations where asking other alternatives, other possibilities, other, if they are asking like that, then my creative thinking will start there. So all of us we have got but depending upon what type of thinking you are going to stimulate, which you are going to exercise, which you are going to expose, according that kind of thinking will be developed. That's the only
As
thing.
a teacher, I should have creative.
Exactly. Everyone, all of us we have got, but developing that ability is equally important. Developing that ability is equally important. Like a fellow in the initial stage, before going to gym, is not able to take up a dumbbell of 4 kgs. After 6 months, he comes, sir, give me 50 kgs, I am going to lift it now. He trained, he knows. Same body, same person, same body, same person is able to do it. In the same way, cognitive means mental abilities. All of us we have got it. Some of us we use it, some of us we don't use it. Depending upon that, we will be here and there. Now, I think this part is clear. And if you mention, therefore I am also highlighting about that. Then physical development is also your concern. That's why we have got physical education teachers, instructors, they'll be doing it. Then we will be having psychologically equipped is equally important. Our purpose of teaching is to make every student physically fit and psychologically comfort. Very, very important. Sometimes mother will say, my daughter, when she was doing UG, she was all right. After going for PG, she will never listen to me. She has become altogether a different type of lady. Mother says, I don't know whom to blame. Blaming the lady, blaming our education, or blaming the mother. But here one message is, our purpose of giving education is to make people psychologically comfort. We have got certain psychological attributes like anxiety, all of us we have got. Our education must make us to control our anxiety. You know, some of us will be having different types of phobia, cluster phobia, different types of phobia. Our education must make us to have a balance of all these things. So friends, the purpose of giving education means make them to become psychologically alert, make them to become psychologically normal. Many will say, my fellow went to Indians of Science, sir, he always used to score 100, 100, 100. He finished his MTech. Now he has altogether become a different fellow. We took him to NIMHANS 4 or 5 times. I don't know what happened to him. What do you say about it? 100 he has scored, worked there, MTech he has passed now. Therefore, normal behavior is not there. He is moving towards some abnormality. Whom to blame about it? In that way, our purpose of teaching is to make everyone to have harmony. Even in TV, you come across some leaders will be fighting among themselves. He says, that fellow, I think he is not psychologically sound, put him to the hospital. NIMHANS, sir. Other leader also says him in another situation, put him. If that is the case, we have to put most of them to the NIMHANS only. I think here, the purpose of education, the duty of education, which I have experienced, it brings you homeostasis like calmness. Everything is possible through education. That's the duty of education you have to provide. And then achievement motivation is also possible. Achievement motivation means aspiring for good things, aspiring for better things. I think that kind of achievement motivation is equally important when you give him a good education. There are some students, if you ask them, degree pass ಆಗಿ ಮುಂದೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್. MSc pass ಆಗಿ ಮೊದಲು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? ಅಯ್ಯೋ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ನಮಗೆ. Whereas in Harvard University, when I went to America, I interacted with 1 or 2 students. I told him, what is that you are doing? You have 4 years degree, what do you want to become? Sir, I want to do my research. In which area you want to do? Neuroscience, sir. Who gave this idea? Sir, 4 years we were all here, interacted. I picked up this particular area, I know. Whereas in Indian context, you are now, if you are walking there near the canteen, one fellow comes running, sir, give me one topic. What for? Sir, Bangalore says announced for the PhD program. Tomorrow is the last day, sir, give me one topic. I want to write a proposal and submit there. See this one here, see that one here. Therefore, here, the achievement motivation is equally important. Purpose of education is not to make students lose faith in their life. Viktor Frankl or somebody has written a very nice book about the meaning of life. What is the meaning of life? Why do we exist? What we are going to achieve? This is equally important when we are doing higher education, and UG education should play a very important role in making the student develop a balanced personality. Then the knowledge component, I did not tell you. We have to teach them to acquire the latest knowledge. And then we have to socialize them, equally important. Depending upon some students, they are having inferiority complex. They don't speak, they don't look at you. You will be saying as an English teacher, come on, you have to have eye-to-eye contact, look at me and then. That fellow, if he looks at you, will forget whatever you wanted. Correct? Huh?
Yes.
That's why you're always looking at the floor, searching for something and they'll give you back to you. Therefore, socialization is equally important. Developing the mannerism is equally important. And converting this into the functional level is equally important. In Western countries or in Singapore or some other place, when you go there, airport, if you wanted to go for security check, etc., everybody stands on their own. Nobody will say that, but here you can just see one fellow comes here, even now airport, here, there. The discipline is whatever we have taught them, they should apply there. Microbiology is so much about virus, etc., etc. This fellow goes, Mummy, give me food. He will take and put like this and start eating it. But this fellow has studied microbiology, studied about virus, etc. Hand wash is important. Before taking the food now, but he does like that and takes it. And ask him, no, nothing will happen for me. All those things are bookish knowledge, bookish information. I think how do you connect these two things? Very, very important. Of course, India is a different type of country. We believe, blind belief is different. Sir, I'm here all sir. COVID and not in available kid. Like I'm here all and put an opportunity now. You're here or I think it is a fact, we experience that also. Socialization is important. Mannerism. How do you ask them to stand? I think you please give importance to it. Many students do not know about basic manners. And moreover, school level, somehow the teachers will struggle to train and socialize them. By the time they come to UG level or PG level, their behavior will be different. One day I saw near the bus stop, 2 or 3 students were standing there. One aged man came. These students went round and made that man to stop. They made him to stop and started speaking to him. Sir, how are you? How is everything you taught us? Etc. They came. They told me, I think you were conversing with him. What is that? Sir, he is our old teacher. He taught us. Because of him, we are all engineering students. We are doing well. I think good. You are having such good values. Some other day, I saw a few students were standing here. One professor came, standing near the bus stand. These students started moving away. Repellent action, or what you call it. This fellow got into the bus. The professor went up. These fellows came. I asked them, why you started moving there? The bus came. You missed the bus. Sir, the same bus you wanted to go. Our professor was there. You wanted to avoid him. Why? Sir, he has not given good marks in our university. I think you can see the difference. I do not know where we are wrong now, whether the students are right or we are wrong. Many examples I can give. I also graded 16. Mahananda Madam mentioned I have graded 16 formally. Informally, maybe more than 18. I never allowed my students to spend a cup of money for a cup of coffee. My PhD scholars. I used to treat them as my students, and they were all. One is a professor in a teacher's college. She was my student.